YouTube, what's going on? Welcome into episode 15 of Top of the Morning Show. I'm your host, Juan Gotti, and let's get into today's opening statements. As Week 14 Sunday slate was a good one. It was really a good one, and I had a really good week of picks, and I'm feeling good. Opening statements is going to start with my Washington Commanders, okay? Because we won yesterday, okay? And no, we didn't play. We were on a bye week, and we somehow moved up 2 spots. Now, it depends on who you ask, okay, on how they feel about us moving up 2 spots. But me, I take it as a win, okay? Because we came in on the day on the outside looking in. Okay, and then we moved up 2 spots. That doesn't take away from how big this upcoming game versus the Giants is this Sunday, but the fact that we moved up 2 spots and didn't play it down in football, crazy, right? The Washington Commanders, if the playoffs was to start today, which obviously they don't, they would play the San Francisco 49ers. And if you ask a lot of Washington fans, including myself, I don't necessarily want to play the 49ers first round, right? I would much rather play the Vikings. I would much rather get the 7th seed and play the Vikings, and hopefully they get they remain the 2 seed, right? But I look at it like this. We play the 49ers twice if we do, in fact, have to play them in the first round of the playoffs, right? And again, we're weeks away from that. But I'm looking at it like this, bro. We play the 49ers in 2 weeks, okay? After this Giants game, we play them on Christmas Eve, okay? So we'll get a look at the Brock Purdy led 49ers. And then, Deebo Samuel just sustained the injury yesterday, a high ankle sprain, which initially it was to be feared that it was something much, much worse than that. But he has a high ankle sprain. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. So we won't get a dose of Samuel the first time. But let's just say things stay how they are, and Washington gets the 6th seed. You got 2 chances to beat them, okay? You already seen what happens when we play a team twice, okay? So it's not like we wouldn't be playing this 49ers defense, because that's what scares everybody. And obviously I know that because I come on here talking about it vividly every time we talk about the 49ers. They have the best defense in football, okay? They didn't, I don't know if that stat still remains, but at a point in time, they didn't allow a second half touchdown since week 8. So I know how good that DeMeco Ryans coached defense is. Trust me. But if we get too cracked at this defense, you have no choice but to be better the second time. So if we struggle the first time and somehow still win, okay, cool. The second time you play them, you should be much better. So my stance is like this. I would much rather play the Vikings first round, but at some point, even if you were to beat the Vikings, at some point you would have to face the 49ers if they advance too. So it's like, it's no reason to be scared because anybody in the NFC can be beat. Anybody. I don't care if it's the Eagles all the way at the top, the Vikings, the 49ers, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Seahawks, whoever. Anybody can be beat by anybody in the NFC. So yes, that 49ers defense is fearful, and it definitely is scary. But it's not like we will only get one look at them and come playoff time. We will have already played them Christmas Eve, so we will already know what we be expecting and what we could look for, what we could take advantage on film this time. Now the second time that we play them in the playoffs, they more likely than not will have Deebo Samuel back. So that definitely gives a boost to that offense. But defensive-wise, we should already know what to expect. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have success the second time. I'm not necessarily guaranteeing that, but I look at it like you have no like, not necessarily that you don't have a choice, but you have you have an opportunity to then be better. So I definitely again would much rather face the Vikings, but I'm not as fearful of the 49ers as most people are. the Commanders, before we can even think about before we can even think about the 49ers, we got a big game versus the Giants this Sunday. So before we can even think about playoff positioning, our season is basically on the line come this weekend versus the Giants. So we can't even really think about that. Now let's get into Week 14 slate. Why not? Okay, because there's a lot to talk about. I mean, before we get that carries us into the Week 14 slate. But I want to talk about the NFC East before we actually get into Week 14 slate. So, as we know, Philadelphia Eagles, they clinched a playoff berth with the huge win over the New York Giants. So this kind of is going to correlate with Week 14 rewind and Week 14 slate. The Eagles clinched the playoff berth 12-1, and they moved one step closer to clinching the NFC East. They blew out the Giants, and as a Commanders fan watching that game, it pissed me off even more. I was already pissed off about the tie. Y'all already know that. I wasn't taking that too well. But then I see what the Eagles did to the Giants. I'm like, we literally could have did the same thing. Because to me, we obviously don't have a Jalen Hurts who is playing really good right now. He is now the new favorite to win MVP. But we obviously don't have a Jalen Hurts. But other than that, we are kind of similarly talented in the aspect of things. We both have great wide receiving cores. Okay, I think Washington's wide receiving core may be better because I would take Quez Watkins over Jahan Dotson. Okay, but I definitely think we're kind of equal in the aspect of things, and besides quarterback, and that's really the biggest difference when it comes to why we didn't beat the Giants and why they were able to. And then also game planning. Their offensive coordinator, Shane Starkin, and Nick Sirianni, the head coach that one that calls the plays and whatnot, they do a phenomenal job, bro. Like I hate to give the Eagles credit, but you can't, as an NFL, although I know I'm a Commanders fan, as an NFL fan, as a realist, bro, I can't do nothing but give them their credit. They draw up really good plays. I mean, the Giants pass rush was killing us all last week. I don't even think the Giants pass rush really got to Jalen Hurts yesterday. What, they had maybe 2 sacks on the day? But not needless to say, besides the sacks, I don't even know how many pressures they had. It couldn't have been a lot. But you know what? You know how they counted that blitz? They had one-on-one across the board, right? So what did they do? They took shots down the field. That's something that we didn't do. That's how you beat blitzes. It's quick slants or taking shots down the field, letting your one-on-one across the board, letting your matchup win. Who's gonna stop it? Darnay Holmes, Vivian Monroe? No. And Cordell Flatt? No. That's exactly what the Eagles did. They looked at that and said, we got AJ Brown, we got Devonta Smith, we got Quez Watkins, we got number 81, their backup tight end, Miles, and we got weapons. So why not abuse our weapons? Like, that's what my biggest key was going into that game versus the Giants last week. My keys to victory was, like I said, yeah, I understand we want to run the ball and control the clock, but this has got to be the week we got to take shots down the field and abuse that secondary of the Giants, because the Giants defense is not good. And the Eagles clearly took advantage of that. And that pissed me off to no avail yesterday even more. Because I'm like, this is the team we tied with? Like, really? Like, I understand, like, I can't sit up here and try to bash the Giants or whatever, but I'm just like, we tied with these guys. They're derailing. Like, yes, they had a great start to the season, fairy tale stuff, but they're starting to come to life. They're 1-3-1 in their last 5 games or 4 games, but 5. I believe 5. Let's say 5 games. They're 1-3-1 in their last 5, and we're 5-1-1. I think I saw a graphic yesterday on Sunday Night Football. It was annoying. Then you take the trip up, out west or wherever Texas is. You take the trip up Texas, and you got the Texas battle between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. And for the longest watching this game, I'm like, the Cowboys going to lose this game because they were not playing well. They were not playing well, and I really thought they were going to lose this game at one point. And then I realized, I'm like, bro, Houston is about to Houston, okay? Because they had a chance and an opportunity to put this game on ice, and they didn't. And it doesn't come any closer than being on the 1 yard line. They were on the 1 yard line, 3rd and goal. If they get a touchdown there, the game is over. Okay? Their game is over. Dallas hasn't shown the ability to really score much all day, but let alone score twice in 3 minutes. I don't think that was going to happen. But then the Texans. I don't get why they were running this 2-quarterback scheme with Jack Driscoll and Davis Mills. Just leave Davis Mills in there, or just leave Jack Driscoll in there. Pick one. Don't keep running this 2-quarterback system, because it came back to hurt them. First of all, on 3rd and 1 from the 1, why don't you just quarterback sneak it? Why don't you just quarterback sneak it? Why don't you fullback dive it? If you want to run it, why not just run a dive up the middle with Dameon Pierce? But I just say sneak it. If you don't get it on 3rd and goal for the sneak it again on 4th and goal. And then make them stop. But don't come up with 2 piss poor play calls like that. So they don't get it on 3rd and goal. They go forward on 4th and goal. They come up with this play where it looked like the running back didn't know what he was doing because the quarterback was waiting for the bootleg, and it didn't happen. They didn't know the play call. Dallas stops. Texans. But then you're like, okay, Dallas still got to drive 99 yards to Pager. And what happens? Dak Prescott, crazy good on that drive, not missing a beat. They go down 99 yards, get the walk-off touchdown, pretty much. It was so frustrating. Seeing that finish, because I'm like, bro, there's no way we're doing this. No, they're doing this. And that goes back to my point where I say anybody in the NFC can be beat. Anybody. That was frustrating. But now, let's go ahead and transition into Week 14. Week 14 NFL rewind and look at Sunday's action besides those 2 games I talked about. You got some other good games. You got the Vikings and Lions kicking things off. And I told y'all on Friday when I did this show, I said the Lions are going to beat the Vikings, bro. I mean, again, the Vikings are 10-2, 10-3. But they're not that good. Okay? Us Commanders fans, we know that. We had them up 10 in the 4th and we let them get away. They All of their games they won this year have been by one possession, have been by coming back or holding a team off, from nearly coming back. Like they don't have not one comfortable win. Okay? But every single loss they have this season, they look putrid. Early in the season versus the Eagles got them out the way. The Cowboys blow them out 40-3 at home. And then yesterday, the Lions get them out the way, 34-23. And it was a close game. It was a one-possession game until that late field goal. But, again, key word, it was one possession. And they were trailing. This Vikings team is good, okay? It has talent. But no one is scared of this Vikings team. That's why Commanders fans, that's why we want to get the 7th seed so bad. Because not only did we have them on the ropes in the regular season, we know if we go into Minneapolis, we can beat this Vikings team. We know that. So that's why so badly we want them to get the 7th seed to face them. Because we know we can beat them. The Lions, man, I'm not even a Lions fan, but I'm so excited for their future, man. Like, I'm so excited for their future because finally, like, all of my life, Detroit has been horrible. Like, I know I'm a Washington Commanders fan, and all my life we've been horrible. But literally, all my life, Detroit has been horrible. Okay, outside, I believe that 1 or 2 years where they actually made a playoff berth. But for the most part, they've been horrible. And to see it finally starting to change there in Detroit, it's a good feeling for them, for Detroit fans. Because, I mean, they don't have one sport to lean on. That whole city of Detroit is just terrible at sports. The Pistons suck. The Flyers suck. Well, not the Flyers. The Red Wings. I don't know if they suck. I don't watch much hockey, but let's just see. Let's just do it for fun. Let's see where they're at right now. Let's see if the Red Wings are any good. The Tigers baseball, they're bad. They're not good. And the Red Wings, they are 13-8, so they're 4th in their division. So their season is pretty, still going. It's still early, but needless to say, Detroit sports aren't good. Okay, and the Lions finally having some success is good, man. I said it, bro. I said that. Hey, I said it back in the all season. I said that Lions offense is good. It's going to be good. And then just imagine when you get Jameson Williams back in. Yesterday, Jameson Williams, J-Mo, got his first touchdown. And I'm like, man, an offense filled with Jameson Williams, DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. That offense is loaded. That offense is loaded, bro. You sprinkle in a little, what's my guy name? Is it Reynolds? You sprinkle in a little bit of him. Let's see. Got my guy's name, but he had a big day. Khalif Raymond, that's his name. Khalif Raymond. You sprinkle in a little bit of Khalif Raymond. That offense is good, bro. And I know a lot of people or a lot of Lions fans and a lot of people were saying, Goff is done. Goff is the problem. I say give Goff one more year. You give Goff one more year, and I don't know what you go in the draft because you got to go offensive line. Offensively, probably draft some defense, maybe some cornerbacks or something. Because your pass rush is getting better. You got two good pass rushers and Aiden Hutchinson and the other guy. Maybe get some interior D-line help or some secondary help. That Lions team could definitely make some noise next year. And let's not even just X them out for this year. They're currently 6-7. And why a lot of Washington fans keep saying watch out for Detroit is because they hold the tiebreaker over me or us and the Giants. So they're 6-7. Okay, right now, but they beat us. So we definitely have to worry. You have to worry about Detroit. But how you counter that, Washington? just win your games. You're already 7-5-1, so they can't catch up to you unless you start losing. So the way you counter that threat of Detroit creeping up is you win games. You went out, and if you do that, you don't have nothing to worry about. Shout out to the Lions, though, man. Great win. Great win. Next game you got Ravens, Steelers, and like I said last week, man, the Ravens thing is happening again. What happened to the Ravens last year is happening again to even a worse extent this time. So as we know, last week Lamar Jackson sustained the MCL sprain. They still got the big three. Okay, so he's out, I believe, 1 to 3 weeks. And then in this game, they start Tyler Huntley versus the Steelers. And Tyler Huntley, he goes down with a concussion. So then that leaves in Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown, their third string quarterback, comes in, and he is now going to be probably their starter come next Sunday. And they still somehow beat the Steelers, as Kenny Pickett got hurt in this game too. The Steelers got hurt in this game too. And Kenny Pickett was out. And here comes Mitch Trubisky. And I believe Mitch Trubisky had 3 interceptions. He was horrible on this day. He was bad. 3 picks on the day. And the Ravens win 16-14. And they go to 9-4. And they desperately need Lamar Jackson back. Because that AFC North is going to come down to week 18. Winner is going to get the AFC North between the Bengals and Ravens. Loser is going to become a wild card. And the way the Bengals are playing, I don't see the Ravens beating them. Okay? Especially if no Lamar is going to be playing. But I think Lamar may be back for that game. I think he's going to miss the Browns game this week, and I think they still can beat the Browns. They got the Falcons the following Saturday, Christmas Eve. I think they beat the Falcons. I think they beat the Steelers again, and then maybe Lamar comes back for that Steelers game, or comes back for that final Bengals game, which I believe is going to be for the AFC North. But needless to say, they're banged up, and they might be starting Anthony Brown next week versus the Browns, but they still found a way to win. And even through all of that, they are currently 9-4. Next game you got the Jets and the Bills, and this game right here, it was a good defensive game at first, okay? Well, throughout, to be honest. And the Jets had a chance, but a costly turnover by Michael Carter really, really hurt the Jets. They really, really hurt the Jets. And Mike White, he got hurt in this game, but he wasn't bad, okay? He was 27 for 44 for 268, no touchdowns, no picks. He was solid. He was okay. But the Jets had a good chance to win. Garrett Wilson went over. I think he went over 1,000 yards, and that's the most from a rookie in Jets history. Or no, he didn't go over 1,000 yards. He broke some kind of record yesterday, rookie record for the Jets. Let's see. Let's see. What did he break? I can't find what record he broke, but he broke something in Jets history. So shout out to Garrett Wilson, but they just need some more from the offense. I mean, they held the Bills to 20 points. That defense is ready to rock and roll. I think that defense can compete with the best of them in the AFC. They just need some more from the offense. And if they can get that, they are good. I think the Jets can make some noise. But same with the Giants and now the Jets and Miami. These teams had great starts to the year, but now they can find themselves on the outside looking in. the Jets could very well miss the playoffs, and at a point in time, we were talking about the Jets making the playoffs. Josh Allen, he was like, a game manager. He didn't have to do too much today. He was 147 for a touchdown. And he had a touchdown on the ground too, 10 carries, 47 yards. So the Bills get it done. They go to 10-3, and they remain, fighting for that 1 seed in the AFC. And let's not forget, they have that tiebreaker over the Chiefs because they beat them earlier in the season with their head-to-head matchup. So I think currently right now, as it stands, they are both tied for the first place, the first seed in the AFC. But I think the edge goes to the Bills because, again, they got that head-to-head matchup win over them. Yes, sir. I stand corrected. And hey, if playoffs run through Buffalo, that's gonna be scary for anybody that has to travel to Kansas City, Baltimore, Tennessee. Like, the only team that I know is probably ready, and yeah, I know the Chiefs are ready, and they are very capable of beating Kansas City or beating Buffalo in Arrowhead, but not Arrowhead, in Buffalo. But the team that I'm most confident in, honestly, that I know that could go into Buffalo and probably beat the Bills is the Bengals. The Bengals is probably the only team not named the Chiefs that I can honestly sit up here and say can go into Buffalo and actually beat the Bills. But right now, the Bills currently sit at the number 1 seed in the playoffs. So shout out to Buffalo. Next game, you got the Jaguars and Titans. Again, I knew the Jaguars were going to win this game. I think they swept the Titans this season. And the Jaguars are so on and off. Like, 1 week they look like they're finally making that stride, and then the next week they look like the old Jaguars. They beat the Titans 36-22, and again, the Titans are coming back to life. They were never really, a fearful team. They're never really a team that you fear. They always, are just there and good, I guess you would say, and relevant because they play in the AFC South. Hopefully here shortly in the next coming years that changes and the AFC South can become more competitive. But every single year they win a division because of the sloppy division that they have. They're 7-6. They're not a good football team. They haven't been a good football team really since, I think 2020 was like the last time they were really a good football team. Because you remember last year they got the number 1 seed and they were 12-5. And they weren't really that good. So they 7-6 right now, and they're derailing. But again, they will probably win that division more likely than not because they don't have anybody that is going to compete. Now the Jaguars is probably the only team that can compete because, like I said, let me just double check to see if I'm correct here. I believe the Jaguars swept the Titans. So let me just double check here. They beat them 36-22 yesterday, and they actually didn't. So they didn't sweep the Jaguars, okay, or to the Titans. So they play the Titans again here shortly. So I actually at the last game of the season, and thinking about it here, depending upon what the Titans do, because I think the Jaguars I think the Jaguars have a good chance to beat the Cowboys, but they probably will lose that game. The Titans got the Chargers this week, and I think the Titans may lose that game. But then again, you never know because the Chargers don't have a good running game, and Derrick Henry could just have one of those games where he's just gashing them. So that game is tricky, but they definitely could lose that game. They could very well lose the Texans game, Cowboys and Jaguars, but I just don't see enough of that happening. I think the Titans are going to take care of business, probably fall into the playoffs, win their division at maybe, let's say 7 or maybe 10-7 or 9-8 probably, and that'll be good enough to win the AFC South. So that's that, and then you go back to the games here, And you got the let's see. Let me go back to the schedule here. You got the games here. You got after the Jaguars and Texans. You got the Chiefs and Broncos. This was actually a really good game. I think Jerry Jeudy had 3 touchdowns in this game here. But it just wasn't enough. Russell Wilson got hurt in this game, and the Broncos lose yet another one. They fall 3-10 on the year, and crazy because they don't even have. I don't even think they have a first round draft pick. Like, I don't think they have a first round draft pick. Let me actually look up the NFL draft order right now, because I know Seattle is licking their chops right now because they fleeced the Broncos, at least this year, right? Because right now, Houston is number 1 and Seattle is number 2 via the trade with Russell Wilson, and that's the Broncos, draft pick. The Broncos would be 3, get the number 2 pick because they're 3-10, but because of the trade with Seattle, they are the number 2 pick. And then the Bears number 3. Let's see do they have another first round pick this year? Seattle, they may have their own. Needless to say, the Broncos are in a terrible position, bro. Honestly speaking, because they are in no way, in shape, or form able to upgrade. Like, it's either Russell Wilson fixes this next year and they're good, or they're going to be on a down spiral. But Jerry Jeudy had 3 touchdowns yesterday. That was good, but it wasn't enough to beat the Chiefs. It was a close game, 34-28. But Patrick Mahomes did not have his best game. He still threw for 3 touchdowns, but he threw for 3 picks. Also, 352 through the air. And the Chiefs still got the victory, but they definitely have to clean up and play more mistake-free football, because if you play a much better opponent, they will take advantage of that. So the Chiefs gets the win, and they remain neck and neck with the Bills for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Next game, you got the Panthers and Seahawks, and this was a game that I was watching closely as a Washington Commanders fan, because it was about this game. We were already going to be in the 7th seed because the Giants lost, right? But this game here, Panthers Seahawks, kind of decided whether they Panthers Seahawks game kind of decided whether the Washington Commanders go to the 6th seed or not, and Panthers took care of business. They were just running the ball over Seattle all game long, for real. Sam Darnold has been fair. And the Panthers, they're 5-8, and don't shut the door on the Panthers' playoff hopes, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-7, so they're 1 game behind the Bucs, and I believe they already beat the Bucs this year. So let's not shut the door completely on the Panthers' hopes of making playoffs, man. Sam Darnold, he was fair in this game, but the front game is really what got them. Chuba Hubbard, 74 yards, 14 carries and a touchdown. Devontae Foreman, 21 carries for 74 yards. And then you got Blackshear, Raheem Blackshear, with 32 yards and a touchdown. So they had a really good day on the ground. They didn't throw it much at all, and they found a way to put up 30 points and beat Seattle. Seattle, on the other hand, Geno Smith, he had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The Panthers defense played well enough every single week. They have a really good defense. Like, the defense is really ready to win, okay? It's just the offense not carrying their part week in and week out. They forced 2 picks of Geno Smith and really didn't allow him to get comfortable. With some throws he would like to have back. He still had 3 touchdowns on the day, but it was some throws that he would like to have back that, could possibly have helped Seattle get that victory. But hats off to the Panthers defense, man, and Steve Wilkes for, pretty much turning that season around in a way, because they are still in the runnings for that NFC South. So shout out to the Panthers. Next game, you got Bucks, 49ers, and I would be lying to you if I was to say I expected this. I think I even picked Tampa Bay to win. I think But 35-7, really? Brady, 35-7. And I know it's not all Tom Brady, but he wasn't really that good in this game. He had 2 picks. But, hey, again, hats off to that 49ers defense. That 49ers defense is the best in the league, like I said. They held them to 7 points. 35-7 is the victory. Tom Brady, 253, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Brock Purdy, 185, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers. Christian McCaffrey's 14 carries for 119 on the ground. And Christian McCaffrey is so good, bro. He is so good. And he, when healthy, he's probably the best back in football. And then, obviously, Deebo Samuel, he got hurt in this game. Speedy recovery for Deebo Samuel because, obviously, he's one of the best in the game. He had on his touchdown run, he kind of knocked over the cameraman. And I'm like, all right, Deebo, you going to help him up? Deebo stepped over the camera. I'm like, dang, Deebo, like, come on, bro. Like, I would, like, if that's me, I'm helping up the cameraman. Like, he's doing his job. And, that's risk, being the cameraman right there. But he's doing his job. You score, you step over him. I'm like, all right, okay, Deebo. All right. But speedy recovery for Deebo, man. One of the best young guys in the NFL. So, speedy recovery for him. Got a high ankle sprain. The 49ers are just banged up. I think they had more injuries besides Deebo also. So, they're banged up, but they continue to win, and they're currently 9-4. And credited to that defense and Brock Purdy just playing well and Kyle Shanahan just having a scheme that it's not hard for any of his quarterbacks to grasp. So, shout out to him. And then on Sunday Night Football, you got Broncos, Chargers. This was a fair game. The Broncos, the Denver, the Dolphins. Again, I feel like they're coming back to life. Okay, I think Mike McDaniel's rookie head coach brain and it's starting to really show because there are some things that better teams and better well-coached teams and more experienced well-coached teams would do differently in predicaments that they were in last night. Tua, he wasn't the best. Again, Tua is not a guy that can carry a team. He's a guy that he's a distributor. In a way, he's a guy that he won't stroke it for 350. Okay, 330, 325. He's a 212. 2 touchdowns, no picks kind of guy, okay? And the Chargers actually did a good job yesterday of stopping the run game because they didn't run the ball. I think if they would have ran the ball more, they would have probably had some success, but they just got away from the run game, and the Chargers kind of shut that up early and kind of, I wouldn't say forced them to pass because I felt like the Dolphins' game plan for some reason was to pass the ball a lot, even though the Chargers have one of the worst run games in NFL this year. They still wanted to pass for whatever reason, and they lost. So the Dolphins are now derailing, bro. They're currently 8-5. After being 8-3, and they're currently clinging on, I want to say, to that 6th seed, but they could very well see themselves on the outside looking in. And at a point in time, we were thinking that the Dolphins were going to compete for that AFC East crown. We were like, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about, oh my God, the playoffs possibly running through Miami Gardens. But that's crazy. And then now, let's go ahead and transition into the next segment, and that is shout out segment. So get your comments riled up. We're going to be going through shouting people out. So if you want your name read live on the air, go ahead and drop those comments. Casper Hill, what's going on, Casper Hill? Shout out to you. I appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show, hosted by Juan Gotti. Casper Hill says, yo, what's good? What's good, Casper Hill? Warren Allen, what's up, Warren Allen? I appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show. He says, hell to the Commanders, HTTC. Yes, sir. Big game this Sunday for our Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Darcy Willis, what's good, Darcy Willis? Appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show. He says, what's good, bro? I'm glad Seattle lost. Yeah, Seattle losing was really huge. Allowed Washington to get into that 6th seed. So shout out to the Panthers, man. Casper Hill. Shout out to you again. He says, let's get this W against the Giants, and we're in. Yep, man, pretty much. It's winning in basically for the Washington Commanders, bro. Casper Hill also says, yeah, we'll see how we look against the 49ers before the playoffs, so I'm happy about that. That's exactly why I said it will be different. I'll be much more scared about the 49ers game in the playoffs. If things stay this way, because again, you never know, things can change. But if things stay this way, I will be much more fearful about the 49ers if we don't see them on Christmas Eve, okay, heading into the playoffs. But the fact that we get a crack at them in the regular season, and if we have to play them in the postseason, I'm fine with that. We have two chances to beat these guys. So that's why I'm not that nervous about that game. Warren Allen says we mirror each other. We mirror each other in so many ways. I wonder if you're talking about the Giants or the 49ers. Big Simple 422. I appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show hosted by Juan Gaddy. He says, that's right. Washington Nation 6 seed. We lit. Yes, sir. Shout out to Big Simple. Make sure you guys subscribe to Big Simple 422. He says Jared Goff is not a problem. He is playing like a top 10 quarterback. Yeah, he's playing really good football, man. Awesomeness Sports. I appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show hosted by Juan Gotti. Awesomeness Sports says, hell to the Washington Commanders. Hell to the Washington Commanders. Shout out to you, Awesomeness Sports. Appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show hosted by Juan Gotti. Nalio. Hopefully I said that right. Good morning, y'all. Shout out to you, Nalio, for listening to Nalo. Shout out to you for listening to Top of the Morning Show. Says, I think if we replayed every loss we had from the 1-4 start, we would win every one. We would probably win against the Lions right now, already won against the Eagles, we against the Titans. I think, honestly, if we replayed every loss, which you can't do, I disagree with the Lions. I think the Lions, I think they beat us. I think they beat us back then. I think they beat us now. They playing really good ball. So I think that loss, yeah, okay. I think that's the one we lose. I think week 3, if Taylor Heineke plays versus the Eagles, we win that game. But we didn't. So obviously, I think we lost, right? But those are probably the 2 legitimate losses that I give us, okay, in that stretch. Then you go to the Titans loss, we should have won that game. You go to the Vikings loss, we should have won that game. So realistically speaking, the Washington Commanders should be sitting here 9-4-1 or 9-3-1, whatever. Honestly speaking, but it is what it is. And win against the Cowboys, I think if Taylor Heineke plays, we win. But obviously he didn't, and we had a loss. So I think we should be either 9-4-1 right now or 9-3-1, honestly. Delano Myers, appreciate you for listening to Top of the Morning Show. Delano Myers, right? What's up, Juan? Hell to the Redskins. We got a W. We get a W against the New York Giants and San Francisco. Do we clinch? Now, I don't know if we clinch. I would assume so, because our playoff chances with the win over the Giants goes to a 90%. So you're saying if we go to 9-5-1, because then that's what you're saying, we're beating the Giants and then we're beating the 49ers. I almost think that our playoff chances would then increase to, if we beat the Giants and the 49ers, we have a 99% chance of making the playoffs. So that pretty much clinches us a playoff berth, honestly speaking. If we are beating the Niners and beating the Giants, we're 99% chance of making the playoffs for sure. Next comment, Delano Myers, he says, Lions the hottest team right now, but if Heineke was starter all year through, we could be 8-4-1 headed into this game. True that. 9-3-1 or 8-4-1, I definitely think so. I definitely think that. But that's all the comments. That's all the news I have for you guys today on this episode of the Top of the Morning Show. I appreciate you for rocking with me see you guys back here Wednesday morning for episode 16. Darcy Williams, let's go ahead and answer this last question or read his last comment. It says, the Seahawks have the hardest schedule coming up. Ooh, okay. Appreciate you for letting us know that, Darcy Willis. Thank you so much. But I appreciate each and every one of you for rocking with me today. Hopefully, I can see you guys back here Wednesday. And don't forget, for my Commanders fans, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., I will be having Cameron Curl's father on stream. So you can bring your questions on to ask any questions about Cam Curl, about Cameron Curl's dad, whatever you want to know regarding to the team and about Cameron Curl. This is the closest thing we're going to get to not name Cameron Curl. So come with your Commanders questions ready, your Cam Curl questions ready. We'll dive into that tomorrow night, 7 p.m. live on the channel with Coach G Curl. So hope to see you guys there. Cam Curl's pops. And Donald Jenkins with the last comments. He says, woulda, coulda, shoulda, Washington fans' favorite game to play. Don't forget Prescott didn't play in that Cowboys game. So beating us would have been worse. I don't think so. Not saying y'all probably wouldn't have beat us with Prescott, but what I'm saying is if we had Taylor Heineke, and you can say woulda, coulda, shoulda all you want, but you can't sit up here and deny the fact that if Taylor Heineke plays in that game, we have a better chance to win. I mean, what were we up? What was the score at one point? 7-3 at some point. We were up early in that game. You know, if Carson Wentz didn't have cement in his shoes, you don't have half of the sacks that you had. But it's no point in going back down that road. We'll see you guys week 18. Shout out to my guy, Donnell Jenkins. Should have lost to Houston, though, but it is what it is. We'll see y'all week 18. Shout out to my guy, Donnell Jenkins. But appreciate y'all for rocking with me again. See you Wednesday morning back here on the channel for another episode of Top of the Morning. As always, it's me, boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe. Hell to the Washington Commanders and the NFL. Now, yeah.